everyone, it's Olga Yershevsky. It's Hong Kong Blockchain Week 2020, and I'm thrilled to introduce my panelists today. We're going to talk about public blockchains and about one interesting cooperation and collaboration, and about interoperability and about Hong Kong and regulatory frameworks. All interesting stuff in this panel. So let me start with Mr. Yifan He, who's the founder and CEO of Red Day Technology, which is the architect firm behind the BSN, Blockchain Service Network. Welcome, Mr. He.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Now to Julian Lowe. Julian is the Business Development Director for Southeast Asia, TZ APAC.
Thank you.
So Tezos, as we know, was selected as one of the first batch of public blockchains to be integrated into the BSN, which is a global public infrastructure network for blockchain projects and companies alike. And now to Dr. Weixin Luo. Welcome, Dr. Luo.
Hi.
Dr. Luo is currently general partner of DL Capitals, and also he's an adjunct faculty of the Chinese University of Hong Kong and a visiting professor of PKU. Welcome, Dr. Luo. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
And last but not the least, Pinder Wang, Commissioner in Global Commission of Internet Governments, Chairman of VeriFi Hong Kong. And seriously, I can spend a lot of time naming Pinder's achievements, and most importantly, Pinder is an internet pioneer who co-founded the first licensed internet service provider in Hong Kong back in 1993 and was also the chief architect of the Belt and Road Blockchain Consortium. Welcome, Pinder.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks everyone for coming together again. And well, I shall start with one of the most hot topics, one of the hottest topics of 2020 and the year before. So Yifan, starting with you, BSN in its introduction has been, I should say, one of the milestones of the whole blockchain industry. And I think I will let you speak about that, about BSN, about its development process and where the initiative is today. Meaning, I mean, unrolling the first batch of blockchains together with Tezos.
Yeah, okay. First, BSN is not a blockchain. It's I always need to say that first. So BSN is a big environment network, which is integrating all kinds of blockchain technology, the permission framework, the public chains, interchain capabilities and cloud resources, basically putting everything together for developers to easier to, to basically develop anything related to blockchain technology. So the BSN's purpose, there's two major purposes. The first one is we want to make, the access to blockchain technology much cheaper and easier. So because right now, if you go to any cloud services provider, if you want to build your own private chain, it probably costs a lot. Okay, in China, probably 200,000 RMB to set up a 3-peer, private chain. I mean, it's just way too expensive for individual developer and the small medium company even try the technology. So with BSN, we dropped that price to basically $20 per month, okay, like $200 per year. So everybody can at least try what's blockchain technology, how you can integrate this new technology into your own IT system. So that's actually the first purpose. And second one is we think the entire blockchain industry right now is like 1994 internet, every single chain, no matter it's public or private, it's an intranet. Okay, it has its own network, its own business model, and it doesn't talk to any other chains. So I think logically there will be something like internet for blockchain industry, right? All the chains should talk to each other very easily. Not writing like 1,000 lines code. It should be 3 lines code. I can call another chain, another smart contract. That's actually how the internet becomes so powerful, because the data actually flows across the industry, across companies. That's where the innovation begins. So the BSN, why we integrating all kinds of blockchain technology, is want them to can connect to each other much easier, within a controlled environment. So that's why, right now we basically already integrate like 7 major permissioned framework. You can build fabric chain on BSN, physical because super chain, SATA, and we are integrating with CODA, US Enterprise, and also Quorum. Those are the private chains, okay, basically for you to build your own chain. Also, second one is we are integrating, all the major public chains like Tezos. It's basically the first one we integrate, and we are going to integrate 3 to 5 public chain every single month. So by July next year, we will have like 50 major public chains on BSN. And the third framework is we call the open permission chain, because you cannot really operate public chain inside China because of the regulations. So this project actually is bringing the public chain into China, but convert them into a permissioned network. So and also we take out the cryptocurrencies. You have to use the fiat money to pay for the gas. So it's actually pretty complicated system, but we can bring in the public chain technology inside China. So that's the third framework we are integrating. And Tezos also is in the first group of public chains, coming into China. And the number 4 type of framework is we call the interchain framework. We already integrate Arita, which is actually from Cosmos, and also Poly Network. With those interchain protocol, any smart contract on any chain, for example, from a private chain smart contract can call the smart contract on Tezos, for example. So it makes the interchain communication much easier. Right now, we already launched that on our testnet. So you can basically, from a Fabric smart contract chain code to call a smart contract on EOS testnet. So that's actually the first step of the interoperability, on BSN. So we will integrating more and more interchain framework too. Next one is actually we talk with Polka to also integrate that. So that's basically where we are right now. And also it's a major part of BSN is we call the public city node. It's actually the data center of BSN. We already have 120 data centers around the world. We have almost 100 inside China and almost 10 plus internationally. So those data centers, we actually install all the blockchain technology we integrate into those data centers. So that's why you can deploy your own chain and access to public chain from those data centers, which is close to you. So that's basically the second big component of BSN. The first one is the framework. Second one is the public city node, and the third one is BSN is an infrastructure. We don't really run our own portal. We actually provide APIs to all the websites. It could be a news website, it could be a restaurant website, and with our APIs, they can very quickly and cheaply to build their blockchain services section into their website, and they manage their own developer. They charge those developers and basically run BaaS services on their website, and those services through our APIs to connect to the BSN and to basically do all kinds of operations on BSN. So basically the BSN is consists of PCNs, public city nodes, BSN portals, and the frameworks, on top of all the major cloud providers. So AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft, China Mobile. So all the major clouds, we build the data center on top of them. So that's basically the landscape of BSN.
It sounds a little less complicated now that you are talking about it, seriously. So Julian, do you want to follow up on that? So how did Tezos go through that collaboration and integration? So did your company and network flow changed?
Oh, so okay. I mean, just maybe I backtrack a little bit just to talk about
Sure.
TZ APAC.
Yeah, go ahead.
So TZ APAC was actually started earlier this year. So we're a leading Asian-based public blockchain consultancy based in Singapore at the moment. But our coverage is within APAC, where China is part of. And unfortunately, David, who's my direct supervisor, is not able to attend because he's not feeling well. So, but for me, I take care of Southeast Asia. So I do a lot of business development in Southeast Asia. And some of the day when we announced the BSN notice, my inbox got filled. Like literally overnight. Everybody was like, what? It was it's how would you say? It's actually game changing in the way that a lot of people view the Chinese blockchain space, on how progressive they are, right? So and it's an extreme honor to be part of the first group of public permissionless chains on the platform. People were crying tears of joy when they were going onto the BSN network. You open up the control panel and you see that column permissionless, just that column permissionless itself. It's a lot like when back in the 70s when Premier Deng Xiaoping, when he opened up China, right? They had the Shenzhen experimental city. That's actually how I view BSN. BSN is the experimental city, for the Chinese public to actually embrace both permission and permissionless blockchain. So it's a great honor for us to be part of it. So in terms of for feedback, the rest of Southeast Asia is super keen on building Tezos applications on the BSN network, and here at TC APAC, because we are more like an advocacy group. So we have a lot of discussions with local players who, and we also do education on getting them on the BSN network. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yifan, can I ask a follow-up question about BSN? I know that this summer there was a split. So why did it happen? What are eventually the benefits of this two-tiered ecosystem? How does it work?
Okay, BSN is still one big network. Okay, the split actually means we actually split the governance of BSN into BSN China and BSN International. It's just like the internet. When it's a global network, in China there's an agency to regulate internet, but it cannot regulate internet in the US. So there's an agency in the US government to regulate internet. So that's why it's the BSN China is actually managed by the State Information Center because it's a Chinese agency. They have no power outside China. So for BSN to become a global infrastructure, we also need a governance outside China to follow the local laws and the regulations. That's why we are going to set up a foundation in Singapore. It's a management foundation. We are actually getting a group of partners to manage the BSN International together, and also we will open source everything related to BSN to all our technical partners in next 2 months, and so we can gather a group of technical companies together. We develop BSN together, and also in 3 years we will open source everything to public. So everybody can build their own public city node. Everybody can build a portal, and everybody can, integrating their chains onto BSN. So it will be, total, open source in 3 years.
So that was the answer to my other question about the international prospect. So this is one of the most interesting things. Thanks for sharing. Now, there are lots of things that have been said about permission blockchains and permissionless blockchains. And I know that there's been a whole battle on the internet, the old internet going on still. So I think I would ask that question to all of you. Who's the winner eventually? Permission blockchain, permissionless blockchain, or they're not going to be fighting each other, but rather interoperate? Who would like to start? Dr. Law, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
I think they will be coexist for a very long time, right? At least from current point of view. You in some application you need, for example, in a trade finance digitization exercise, you need the banks to work together closely and then agree on certain rules and principles, and that something like Corda will be quite suitable for that, right? On the other hand, you have a lot of innovative DeFi project, for example, which you can run on Ethereum or some other protocol framework, and then in that case, maybe public blockchain will be more appropriate. So I think they have their own use case and suitable area, and is going to be existing, coexist for a long time. That's my current view. Maybe I will change, but I would love to see what the other panelists would say.
Oh, so maybe I just start, because we've been talking to some of the regional how to say, not so much governments but agencies, right, trying to understand their thinking with regards to both private and public blockchains. So there is a slight bias towards private blockchains. So, and in my very honest opinion, I may not be able to speak on behalf of the foundation, but I think that BSN is not just a platform. It's almost like an ideal, because it marries both the beauty of both public and private blockchains, so that both of us can actually coexist, and have interoperability. So having BSN around is actually pretty cool, because it shows almost like a blueprint or framework for the rest of the other governments who are very afraid of losing control of and so that's where we can actually stand in. So I think with BSN, if BSN persists and is able to push its network to the other node cities, to have more node cities, to have more agencies talking to them, I think it will push for a much bigger, wider world where both public and private blockchains can coexist.
Thanks. Who wants to follow up? Vinder.
I guess, I'm from the public blockchain space, as you know. I do feel that the comparison with the internet that was made in 1994 is quite true. But the public internet changed the world, sort of the private intranets at that time didn't. But I think we may be making a thinking mistake, because the role of these public or private, or I prefer to say permission versus permissionless, is different. The public blockchains are fantastic for being a testing ground of the technology, which is very, very detailed and requires precision engineering. Only last week we had the chain split, the so-called accidental chain split, hard fork, sorry, with respect to Ethereum. And Ethereum has been around for a while. So the technology is still evolving. But we're in Hong Kong, we are very good regulators, we have the rule of law. And so in some instances, we would love to be able to use the public chain technologies, but in a private context, because we need to know who connects. And that is why the permissioned aspect, which has sort of the right to put someone in jail, especially for financial transactions and our obligations for anti-terrorist financing and for anti-money laundering, is necessary. But the potential for blockchain is actually also outside of finance, right? And as you know, we would, the applications for Internet of Things, for example, the public blockchains might be able to scale much faster, because you don't have to have this, this gating or this potential slowdown through getting the permission to be able to write to the blockchain itself. So I think the notion that BSN is not a blockchain itself, but provides it, is the right thing for China at this moment, especially as we reboot the economies after COVID-19, and especially because of during the Hong Kong FinTech, we had the new regulation of cryptocurrency exchanges in Hong Kong, which I feel all comes together as we have all of these digital bearer instruments really transform our financial center and financial role, where, as you know, we're already one of the world leaders. I mean, just look at the virtual banks. I mean, you know, you may recall that the virtual banks in 2019, we had all of, well, not all, but the major Chinese technology-related firms. You know, Alibaba, we have Ant Finance, which was trying to do the recent IPO. They have Ant SME, the Ant SME virtual bank. Xiaomi has Insight FinTech. Tencent, which does WeChat, has partnered with ICBC to have Infinium. JD Finance, or I think they're called JD Digits now, partnered with the Bank of China to have Livy VB. The largest travel firm, Trip, or C-Trip as it used to be called, partnered with Standard Chartered and Hong Kong Telecom to have SC Digital. Ping An in the insurance sector, the largest two players, Ping An has Ping An One Connect, and Zhong'an has also Zhong'an Virtual Finance. All of these are banks in Hong Kong, virtual banks. So when we add virtual commodities, as we like to call them here, we have potentially, if we add DCEP, but DCEP for business, which is my interest, we will have a financial system which is fit for the 21st century.
You actually covered all the things I would love to cover, but we'll get back to that, to Hong Kong. Yifan, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, okay. First, I totally agree with Dr. Lau. You know, the public chain, the private chain, they will coexist. And but I want to explain a little bit how we really see the blockchain technology, because we are building an infrastructure. So we want to understand what's the the bottom logic of the blockchain technology. So that's why 2 years ago when we did our research, we really liked the blockchain technology, or we call that DRT technology. For internet, it's like the internet technology actually very simple. It's from one computer to another computer, the data transmits in seconds. That's it. Okay, then you build everything on top of that, become the internet today. We think the fundamental concept of DRT technology is a new way of transmitting data. We call that broadcasting way transmit data. The internet is from one point to another point, and then the DRT is from one point to a group of people at the same time, and then transfer back. It's like all the people sitting in a conference room and talk to each other. Okay, but if you put those 5 people from one conference room to entire world and change that from 5 people to 5 million people, and it no longer is a language. It's a very complicated business transaction data, and let them agree on something in seconds. The DRT is the only technology can achieve that. That's why we think I think the cryptocurrency is the simplest application of DRT project. It's basically 100,000 people agree a price on a single code in seconds, then it becomes the cryptocurrency. So I think about this way transmitting the data, I think it's an upgrade from internet, because when the broadcasting only 2 guys, it's the internet. If 3 guys, 4 guys, and 1 million guys, then it becomes blockchain. So personally, I think the DRT technology will rebuild the internet. Okay, I personally, I think HTTP protocol will be gone one day. Okay, when we're visiting a website, it actually goes through our personal data center. This data center will talk to another data center to build a link. Okay, so if the business logic is a permission, which means only like 3 data centers, then it build we call a permission link. Okay, I don't want to call that chain, it's a link. Then when this business is gone, the link will be gone. If the business logic is need permissionless link scenario, then it join in a public chain like a business relationship. But when the business is done, then you can drop out, or this link will be gone. So I think the chain, even chains, will be gone one day. we just build, billions the chain link relationship. So with this kind of, for example, my phone will go to my personal data center on the cloud. Then it goes to other data centers. When we send an email, it goes to my data center, then go to other data centers. So my data is very, very secure. Okay, I can encrypt everything. Even when I'm visiting a website, I actually pull the web page and everything into my data center and do all the calculations and operations and return the result. So basically, if I don't want to release any of my information, it keep inside my data center. So I think in 20 years, 30 years, that's how the internet is supposed to be. It will be built based on the blockchain technology. So answer your question is all the chains will be gone, okay? But we will keep the links. If it's a permission link, then it's a permission link. If it's a permissionless link, it really depends on what kind of business scenario you need.
I think we all needed this explanation. Thank you for that. So, and speaking of following up on your mentioning currencies, I think everyone's really thrilled about knowing when the DCEP, when the digital currency will be rolled out. So what do you think about that?
First, 1 week ago, the central bank just said there's no timeline.
Okay.
So it was released, 1 week ago. But personally, I think the DCEP at the beginning won't really have much impact on the economy because when the first stage it will only enable individual to merchant transactions. Okay. With that kind of setup, it has no difference with WeChat Pay or Alipay. Okay, you use the app to pay to the merchant. I think until Peanut actually mentioned, until it enable business to business transaction, okay, then it makes sense. Okay, which means personally, I really love the central bank digital currencies because it really make the turnover of cash and the inventory of merchandise probably 5 to 10 times faster. Just imagine, it's when the merchandise and the inventory turnover so fast, it has huge impact on the economy. And also just remember, it will be tokenized and it can be programmed. Basically, for example, Apple, right? Apple, they can basically set up a system. They can pay the supplier 10 layers out, not only pay their own supplier, they can pay actually 10 layers, even pay the mining guy to do the mining. So it will be really, really fast, really, really secure. But for the DCEP, when it reaches that, business to business transaction, I think it will take 2 or 3 years.
That's the key point. I mean, so most people are very excited about DCEP, but it really, from a China perspective, is just more of the same. It's already, you can do that with your smartphone, with Alipay, etc. So again, the business to business aspect, I mean, I think if I mentioned Zhao Xiqian, the ex-central bank governor, has made some recent speeches. Even the draft law for DCEP was on the 23rd of October. Yes. So this is moving fast. I think there's a massive opportunity, at least for Hong Kong, on the DCEP for business. And there's a great opportunity to collaborate as DCEP's rolled out.
I actually want to echo Pinder because I think Hong Kong is have a very unique position with the recent regulatory framework that's being proposed. Now, when we enter the digital economy, and Hong Kong could play a very interesting role combining all the digital technology in one simple place, right? Let me elaborate a little bit more. So Hong Kong is pushing for the EID project as well, which is your digital identity. And what Pinder talking about is digital fiat currency. Yeah. And what we are going to launch license is the regulatory framework for virtual exchange, which could be doing STO or non-STO. But for some of the people, we are using digital securities to replace STO. So you can use your EID to verify the person and doing all the check on AML and KYC. And then you have using your digital fiat currency to buy digital securities, which could be the result of the tokenization of a lot of interesting assets or even cash flow from China, right? So Hong Kong have a very unique position to try all this digital technology, and then we will be really entering our digital economy. So I'm quite excited about combining all these things into one small place, and could be happening in Hong Kong.
Yeah, people don't understand that it's actually an architecture. It all fits together, and it's not just initially through the Greater Bay Area, the 9+2 different economies around Hong Kong. You're fully aware that I'm obviously interested in the Belt and Road, which is 100+ countries, but we need to prove that it works first, which is why what BSN is doing is so important, because it's visionary. There's a lot of technical challenges. It's not going to be easy, but I think the vision is there. And with regulation, as I said earlier, and we're very good at that for all these new kinds of exchanges, then we will have the very big money come in. And that money actually needs all the KYC, but also KYM, which is know your machine. And guess what? Where are the machines made? Made in China.
So just to add, and then so for Tezos, yeah, I mean, we're always very, very supportive, and for CBDC projects, just in France, our group in France, Nomadic Labs, they're actually now working with SocGen to do the first digital euro. Sorry, not digital year, digital euro itself, and we're starting to see a lot of actually interest, in other parts of other currencies within Asia itself. There's also looking at creating a digital version. But one of the things that I'm actually quite surprised a lot of people don't really talk about with regards to CBDC is the data that you get from having a digital currency. Because once you know where the money is going, where the money is at, what it's being spent on, infrastructure projects can be, it can give, that data can be used by decentralized governments to actually, come up with policies, come up with budgets, infrastructure budgets to actually propel the economy further. That's actually one thing that a lot of CBDC proponents don't usually talk about, but I think it's actually a great way to actually use that data to actually make better policies for economic policies for people.
Yeah, in the old days, time was money. In the new economy, data is money, and Bitcoin proved it, right?
Yeah.
Right. I guess.
And it's not just CBDCs though. Just to be balanced, since I was the only one talking about Bitcoin during the blockchain week in Hong Kong. Again, this new regulation, Ashlow talks about regulation of cryptocurrency exchanges. We have many of the world's largest exchanges in Hong Kong. And my expectation, although a lot of people feel it's very negative to have the regulation is when you're going to have a lot of the institutional FIs saying, okay, now it is time to invest in Bitcoin. We want to do it legally. You've seen some of the firms in the United States begin to take investments, Square, for example, in Bitcoin. And I expect fully that, late in the next year, probably once everything's in order, that we will also be one of the best places to buy and sell Bitcoin together with other cryptocurrencies, because it's regulated.
Yeah, because regulation builds trust. And when you have trust,
well, absolutely. And you know what? This is going to be a testing ground, because I think my vision here is when and Waishan knows it, that every company is a public company, right? Yes. We just need to push everything down the cost of running the common infrastructure. When we have all of these digital virtual commodities, bearer instruments, and that's going to be transformative, because the cost of exchange and the cost of clearing is gone. Sure. It's going to be really, really efficient. And when we introduce the machine-to-machine economy, in other words, machines exchanging with machines throughout the whole chain of the pipeline, as per the design of the Belt and Road stuff that I've been involved with, you're going to have hopefully an infrastructure that can last for a while. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, make no doubt about it. But I think the vision and general direction is hopefully correct.
On that optimistic note, I would like to finish our conversation. We're unfortunately out of time now, but thank you again for coming together, and thank you again for joining Hong Kong Blockchain Week. I think, well, interoperability and adequate regulation is eventually the key, right, to our bright digital future. And thanks again for joining us. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of Hong Kong Blockchain Week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.